Hello, everybody. Welcome back to A Mental Break. I'm your host, Taylor Simpson, and this is episode 3. And I got a special announcement for you guys. Today is the first episode with a guest.
Yay, it's me, Leena.
Leena is my very first guest on the podcast.
Yay.
Welcome.
I'm so excited.
Thank you so much for being here as the first guest on my podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Woo!
Woo, woo, woo.
Awesome. So, do you know what the podcast is about?
Yes, it's talking about pretty much about mental health and I guess like the impact that has happened in the pandemic on our mental health, but just also just mental health in general.
You got it. That's what this podcast is all about.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you listen to me. All right. Well, welcome to the show, Leena.
Thank you.
So I have a series of questions for you today,
Give it to me.
being my guest on the show, my first guest on the show.
Oh, man.
So my first question for you,
Yes.
to start off easy, is just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh,
Let
man.
the listeners know, just in case they don't know who you are,
Yes.
who Leena Rodriguez is.
Man. Well, I'm a musician, singer, songwriter, producer, lover of bread and coffee. And
Can confirm.
yes. And yeah, I'm was born in Toronto, but have been raised in Brampton my whole life. I actually just recently left the nest last summer, and now living with my best friend, who is
Who's me?
yeah, it's that guy, and it's been great.
The host.
Yes, the man, the legend, the prophecy.
Stop it. I don't condone this. But thank you, though.
You're welcome.
So that is Leena.
Hey.
The next question I have for you is, do you feel comfortable and safe talking about your personal mental health struggles on this episode today?
I'm very comfortable and
You
very
feel
safe.
like you're safe? This is a
Yes.
safe space
I
for you
feel
to
like I'm
talk?
in a no judge-free zone.
Yes, there's no judgment here.
There's no judgment.
I haven't coerced you into doing this.
Yes,
You
no.
came upon your free will.
If anything, I was more so excited about this.
Awesome. Okay. I just always want to make sure, I'm going to ask every guest that when they come on the show, is just as like a precaution, like, do you feel safe? Do you feel comfortable? Because some people aren't comfortable talking about sensitive stuff like this, like their
Yes.
mental health, right? So
Of course.
just got to make sure.
It's all about consent.
Exactly. Where it's 2021.
Mhm.
So, my next question for you, Leena. What mental health struggles or illnesses do you deal with?
I struggle with generalized anxiety. When I was about 17, coming into 18, I was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder and a little bit of depression. It kind of creeps in every now and then, but it's mostly anxiety, especially social anxiety, which I've been kind of it's been kind of challenging, obviously, right now in these COVID times when you can't really socialize at all with anyone.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. As for someone who's always had trouble initiating conversation, initiating things, now there's nothing. Like it's now become feeling lonely to like feeling even more lonelier already. So
Yeah, that's very true.
yes.
So you said you actually have been, because my next question was, have you ever been formally diagnosed by a doctor?
Yes, I was diagnosed by my family doctor because before I was diagnosed, I was getting a lot of panic attacks, and I was constantly going to the emergency room. At one point, I think I went to the emergency room seven times in a week, and
Wow.
every time I would go, like I pretty much feel like I'm getting a heart attack. But every time I get all tested, they're like, "You are totally fine," and then they'll give me a Valium, and then that was that. And this is also before I even knew what mental health was. At one point, I was like, "There's just got to be something wrong with me physically. Like I'm dying. I'm dying. It's just that these doctors aren't picking it up."
Yeah.
But the more and more, I went to so many treatments. I went to go see like a cardiologist.
Wow.
I did everything. I did all the tests, and everything came back normal. And it all just came down to my family doctor being like, "Have you thought of like, you have like anxiety or something?" Because at the time I went to the doctors, I had like a lot of nervous tics. Like, I bite my fingers all the time, and like it was a lot more worse at the time, and I shake my legs very frequently, like it was bad, and the doctor's like, I don't know, maybe you probably have anxiety because you were
restless leg syndrome.
yeah, it's pretty bad. At first I was in complete denial. I was just like, wait, what? Me, like a mental health problem? I'm fine. But no, I went to see a therapist, no, a psychologist, and they diagnosed me with generalized anxiety disorder. Yeah.
And as far as the depression and the social anxiety, I guess the social anxiety probably gets tied in with the general anxiety disorder, right?
Yes, it does, yeah.
So as far as the depression goes, is that more of like, because my next question lined up here would be like, do you just have like a feeling like you know that you have this, even though you haven't been like formally diagnosed with depression? You just kind of like know what the signs are and the symptoms are of the depression, and like you feel like you're suffering from it?
Yeah, because the depression I go through is nothing that I've ever really experienced at all, you know, because a lot of people assume that depression is just feeling sad, but like I feel like a chemical feeling in my brain, like it's heavy. I get like a lot of brain fog, like everything is not clear. Like I feel like I have to focus my eyes sometimes, and yeah, just this feeling of just really harsh fatigue and just feeling just not well,
just feeling down,
but
like
not just
more down than
usual, right?
Yeah,
you know, and I can feel it in my head,
like an undescribable feeling of downness.
Yeah, it's like dullness,
right?
You know.
Yeah, and it can like because I know like in my first episode I talked a little bit about my mental health as well, and I obviously have been diagnosed with depression.
Yes. So
for me, it sort of comes in like waves. I don't really get it. It's not like every single day, you know. It comes in waves, and then I don't know when it's gonna hit. I'm sure that's probably most people deal with that. But like, do you feel the same sort of way? Like, does yours come in waves, or is it like just a daily thing, or?
Mine comes in waves.
Yeah.
And earlier, in my age, it was a lot worse. Like these episodes would happen. These would last like a week or two, but now my episodes now are every 3 days, or like it'll last for 3 days, and then I'll just go back up again. But it does hit me in waves.
Right.
And each wave is different. It either hits me and then I'm good at like the day after, or it really hits me it hits me to the ground and I'm like, you know, stuck there for like a couple days or so.
So the waves kind of vary in potency is basically what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah.
Like one wave could be lighter than the other.
Yes.
Do you find that they're triggered by anything at all? Like, or is it just like a sudden onset? Because I know for me personally, like it could, like it's kind of both, I guess. Honestly, it's kind of like it could be triggered by something.
Yeah.
But it also could be, I could be having like a great day.
Yeah.
Like I wake up and get everything done, like all the shit on my list checked off, and like it'll just hit me like a brick wall.
Yeah.
And then like it's just a floodgate almost, and it's like all these things start rushing in. It's like, wow, I didn't even do anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I get that a lot. Yeah, I could be like in the best mood, or like I could be having the best day, and I don't know, it just hits you like a ton of bricks, and it comes out of nowhere.
It really does sometimes. It's crazy.
And it gets kind of annoying because it's like, here I am living my best life. Why am I not feeling, not feeling this way, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes me feel even worse.
Well, hence why they call it a mental illness.
Yes. It's a chemical imbalance in the brain.
Indeed it is. Is there anything undetermined that you want to discover more about in yourself in terms of your mental health that we haven't discussed already? Maybe more of your social anxiety, perhaps?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of something you've been battling recently with, right? Or not recently, but like I think on the forefront now.
I think I've always had I've always battled with social anxiety, but I feel like now it's become more prominent, especially with what's happening to the world right now.
Yeah.
I kind of I've done a lot of self-discovery in this year. I'm pretty sure everyone has, you know. But oh boy, did I discover a lot.
Yeah, you can say that again.
Yes.
Yeah, so other than the social anxiety, anything else that you are undetermined about that you'd like to discover more about?
I guess like I don't know. I mean, like I pretty much had quite the deep dive in terms of my anxiety. Like I know I have really bad health anxiety. That's a really big thing for me. It's really bad.
Talk more about that. Yeah,
I think when I was around maybe 15 or 16, every time I had something out of the ordinary, whether it's like a back pain or like a neck pain, I always have this thing I always Google it and go to like WebMD and check all these symptoms. And it came to the point where I almost convinced myself I had something. And like my body was creating these like symptoms, these like phantom symptoms. It's so scary. It's the brain.
Well, the brain, yeah.
It's the
I
brain.
mean, the mind is a powerful tool.
This is the machine. This is what runs all of your organs in your body. Like, it's
very true.
It's scary. The brain is a scary organ.
It is a very scary
It
organ.
can trick you into thinking about a lot of things. It can make you hallucinate, schizophrenia and all these other things. So
absolutely. I mean, this is why it's so important for me to start this podcast and like talk more about this and like address more of it, because I feel like not a lot of people understand that the brain can also get sick too. It's just like any other organ in your body. Exactly. It's not just, oh, you're sad, go home.
Yeah.
Just get over it.
It's you're sad? Try drinking some water.
Yeah, like how many times have you gotten that in your life?
Oh God. Oh man. So many times. Mostly from my parents, for sure.
Yeah, the older generation that didn't grow up with the knowledge that we have now, I guess, of it.
The knowledge, and also I think there's
the awareness.
Somewhat of like a stereotype of it. Because, when my parents found out that I was going to therapy, they thought that they
you were crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy. Like psychotic, like put me in a straitjacket in a white room, kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Because they always thought of it as if you're going to therapist, there's something wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? That's okay. Yes, there is something wrong. I have a mental illness, and I need to treat it, with therapy.
Yeah. It's okay to not be okay.
It's okay to not be okay. But, my parents don't really quite understand that. And that's fine,
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people just, that are either not around it a lot, if they don't know anybody personally, they have to deal with it, or they never grew up around it. Like, it's hard for people like that to understand, especially if they come from an older generation. Like, if, saying their parents or your parents, my aunt, whoever, right? Like,
yes,
some people just don't understand fully because they just never grew up around it, or they just grew up in a generation where it wasn't talked about a lot, or wasn't addressed, or it was like negatively stigmatized.
It was swept under the rug.
Exactly. Like no one really dealt with the issue, right? It's kind of like, oh, you're just sad today. Like, get over it. Like, it'll be fine. Or it's like, you're going to therapy. Like, you're crazy. Like, you're psychotic. That's not the answer. I mean, we've discovered that's not the answer. Hopefully.
Yes.
But yeah, these are the things I kind of want to address, and thank you for bringing that up on this episode.
Yes,
it's super important to talk about and address these things and bring clarity to these.
Yeah, and bring normalcy as well.
Oh, absolutely.
About mental health.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's not talked about as often, and people tend to stray away talking about mental health because of the stigma.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate, and this is kind of why I'm starting this.
Yes.
So thank you for being a part of this with me.
Of course.
And talking about this, and hopefully the listeners, if you're listening, can also engage in this and feel free to be open. And the more we talk about it, the more people understand, right?
And feel a little less lonely.
Exactly. And we can all be together in this. Yeah. It's a sense of community, right?
Yeah. You don't have to be alone in this battle.
Absolutely not. Okay, Leena. So, what has been your experience or your perspective of dealing with your mental health issues in your life so far?
Well, so far, it's been quite a journey.
Tell us about it.
Well, in the beginning was complete and total denial because, like I said earlier, the older generation, they weren't, taught, they weren't aware of that people have mental health issues and that therapy is okay to go to, and being raised in that way, I thought to myself, like, no, there's no way I'm crazy. It was just literally complete denial. Like, I was just like, there's just no way.
Right. So when you started feeling these things, when did you start feeling this way?
I started feeling this way as soon as I got diagnosed.
Right, because that was the definite answer.
That was like the confirmation.
Right. But before that, I honestly thought there was something physically wrong with me. Like, I was sick. But like, can you pinpoint a certain moment, like an age or a grade or? I definitely was in grade 10. Okay.
Grade 10.
So like teenager, basically.
Yeah, when I was a teenager.
Young teenager.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I had my first panic attack happened in the middle of biology class.
Wow. Did you know what it was?
I don't know. I thought I had, I don't know. It felt like an asthma attack. I thought I had like an asthma or something, or like, I don't know. I was just sick. Yeah, that day I felt really fatigued, and I felt like I was 90 years old.
Right.
Like, because not only I had the panic attacks, but I also had like a lot of back pain. I had like a lot of like muscle sores. But yeah, I was biology class, and it was like after school, and the bell rang, and everyone was just kind of leaving. And as I was leaving and walking down the hallway, all of a sudden my lungs just decided not to breathe. Like I just stopped breathing, and everything just kind of felt like something, like everything was caving in. And as I was going to my mom's car, and I closed the door, I like cracked open the window. I was like, Mom, I can't breathe. Like I was like literally just like breathing heavily. Like it looked like I was having a legit heart attack.
Jeez.
And then that was the first hospital trip. And then did all the tests, and everything came back normal. And then they just kind of gave me like a Valium, and that was it. And even I didn't know what that was.
Right.
I just thought, I don't know what it
You're
was.
probably too young to understand what that is.
I was too young. I didn't really care. And I was just like, as soon as I got to the hospital, it like stopped.
Right.
And I was just like, oh, okay. But like also at the same time, being the hypochondriac that I am, I was just like, I'm sick.
That was the term I was trying to think of earlier.
Oh, okay, yeah, hypochondriac, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yes.
Thank you. Anyways, continue.
Yes. I was just like, oh, I'm dying. I have a sickness. I have some kind of illness of some sort, you know.
Right. So you jumped right to the worst conclusion.
Yes. Way to the worst conclusion, yeah.
But obviously as a young kid dealing with something like that and not knowing anything about it, obviously you're going to jump to conclusions like that, right? Like you've never dealt with that before, obviously, right? And it came out of nowhere, and this is your first experience with something like that, and then the doctors are telling you to take this pill or whatever, and you're like, okay.
I was like, all right, okay.
Yeah, that must have been a scary experience.
Yeah. And then after that, it was consistent. Like the panic attacks were worse. I mean, at the time, I didn't know they were panic attacks. I literally thought I was sick, like physically sick.
Right, like you just thought you were ill.
Yeah, I thought I was ill.
Like with a cold or something, or like some sort of illness or disease or something.
And every time I would like go to the hospital, every time, and they'd done a bunch of tests. They'd done x-rays because I asked them to do x-ray, and they're like, I don't see anything. You're like totally fine.
Right, because it's not something they could find physically, right?
No, because it's just your body doing it. It's your body in like fight mode, you know, fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
So like, but I don't know. And these panic attacks happened out of nowhere. Like there was nothing that triggered it.
Mm-hmm.
It just happened, you know?
Right.
And it was just hard putting 2 to 2 together, because these were just happening at the most random times. I could just be sitting in my living room, and all of a sudden I will start getting heart palpitations. It was really bad. It came to the point where when I went to the family doctor, they're like, all right, let's take you to a cardiologist. I did so many tests. Like I went on the treadmill to like check like my lung like everything.
Wow.
I went through all of that, all to hear to be like, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
You probably need to go see a psychologist. You probably have anxiety.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a moment I was like, there's no way. And of course my mom was there, and she was just like, what? There's no way.
Yeah.
You know?
The disbelief comes crawling in.
Exactly. Because, you know,
because you want it to be something physical.
Yes.
Right? You don't want to believe that you have like mental issues.
Yeah.
Right?
Like I thought that, because like I was just like, because at the time I didn't know much about mental health or anxiety. I didn't think that like anxiety would make your body do that to like that degree.
Right.
But apparently it can happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it can. You know, it could definitely like hinder people for sure. I just didn't know it was to that degree. That's why the first thing I thought, I was like, I probably have like some kind of ailment of some sort, and these doctors are not finding it. And that amped up more of my hypochondria. So I was just like, I was so confused. I was so confused and scared.
Yeah, absolutely.
For like the first 2 years of my teens, from like 17 to 19, I was just mortified.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what was wrong with me, and even though I got diagnosed, I was like, there's no way. By the 3rd year, I kind of just was like, okay, let's give this like therapy thing a shot. And I did, and it was a lot.
So that would have been what, grade 11?
Yeah, grade 11, yeah.
So you started going to therapy in grade 11?
Yeah, I only went one time, and then that was it. Because
just the once, eh?
Yeah, because the first time I went, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I know that's their job, but again, at the time
they gotta dig.
I didn't know much. So when they dig, I realized some things, and it was a little too much for me.
Wow.
And
that's tough.
Yeah, and that was also at a time that like my parents were separating.
Yep.
And
Well, that'll cause some anxiety.
yes, so yeah, a lot was going on in my life, and like I was doing all university level courses because I thought I was going to go to university. So like school stress, family stress.
Yeah, it adds up.
All that adds up. And when I went to my first therapy session, I was just like, I can't do this. Nope, there's no way. I can't do this. Because it was hard. I cried hard, and I cried a lot.
Yep.
And that was a lot for me.
Wow.
And immediately, as soon as I came home, my parents were like, especially my mom, she's like, so what did they say to therapy? And I'm like, I can't tell you.
Yeah,
That's the
confidentiality.
It's confidentiality. That's the point of therapy. It's to talk to someone else that is, you know, just to get like an unbiased thing.
Yep.
You know? And
I'm sure they were just concerned, obviously.
of course they're concerned, yeah. And my mom was just like, is it I remember my mom asking, is it because of me that I'm making you feel this way? You know? And of course it is. I mean, she is the small factor for sure, obviously. Childhood trauma, obviously.
Yeah.
But I can understand from my mother's perspective, you know, when they find out that their daughter or their son is like, you know, diagnosed with a mental health
they automatically
issue,
blame
and
themselves.
they blame themselves. They think that they're a failure as a parent.
My aunt did the same thing, so I understand exactly how that feels.
Yeah. So like,
you just have to tell them that it's like, it's not entirely your fault. Like, obviously some stress is brought on by you, but this is something that I have to deal with as well.
Yes.
And other things are affecting me on top of this, right?
Yes.
I'm not blaming you for this.
No.
Right?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I told her, I was like, I don't blame you. I mean, like, yes, you had that small factor, but at that time there was way more other factors going on.
Way
as well,
more
other
right?
factors,
of course,
besides my parents.
And this is something that you're dealing with internally as well.
Exactly.
And trying to figure out, and like you didn't make me this way entirely. Like,
yeah,
this isn't your fault, right?
Because before, when I was 16, I wasn't like that at all.
Yeah.
I was, you know, I felt pretty content, you know, and that's why every time people ask me, like, when was the last time you felt genuinely happy? And I was like, the last time I felt genuinely happy was probably when I was 15 or 16.
Wow, that's crazy. Before all this
nonsense that happened.
Right. Is there like a specific moment that you can put back? We'll continue on your story after, but I just want to, because I want to make a big focus on this as to like where the trauma starts.
Yeah.
Because mine goes way back. Like mine starts, I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
You know, my dad passed away, right? That's where everything starts for me.
Yeah.
And I can pinpoint the day. Right?
Yeah. I
know exactly when it happened. And it just got worse from there, obviously, because, you know, my mom passed away after that, and then yada, yada, yada.
Yes.
So, like, that's the moment I know that that's changed forever, right? Like, that's the day that I was like, yep, this is where I got messed up, and, and that's it, right?
This is the day I completely lost it.
And, like, that was a big trigger and a big trauma that happened. And
yes.
That's, you know, not always the case, obviously, but I think generally most of the time, these kind of mental health illnesses or struggles or issues, what do you want to call them, are sometimes brought on by these early traumas.
Yeah.
Like these triggers, right?
Yeah.
And then your brain goes into like overdrive to try to compensate for what's happened to you, right?
Yes.
And you start developing these illnesses, you know, because it's the chemical imbalance in the brain we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
You know, so my brain was like, depression, anxiety, OCD, like we need to control everything. Like,
yes.
You know, because stuff was out of my control, right?
Yeah.
So my question to you is, do you think if you think hard enough, go back, is there a moment where you're like, this is it, like this is the day this happened, this is the day I started feeling this, and this is what brought it on? Like, is there some sort of like trauma or like some sort of like immediate thing that comes to your mind that goes, this might have caused a snowball effect?
Yeah.
That made me become diagnosed with this. Well,
I didn't really realize it. I didn't realize my traumas were traumas until I went to therapy.
Right.
Because we all have our little traumas, and I guess like to me, it's funny because you don't
doesn't have to be a big one.
It doesn't be a big one, but you don't realize it's a trauma until you talk about it to other people, and then they give you that look.
And then, yeah.
And you're like, oh, that makes so much sense why I'm like this.
It's normal to you because you're dealing with it, but until someone goes, dude, that's not okay, you're like,
Yeah, I guess for me, so yeah, the moment I realized it was therapy, and I guess those traumas that I went through is definitely how, like, my parents were abusive. I've dealt with a lot of abuse. I didn't think it affected me until the moment that I went to therapy and talked about it. And I was like, okay, no, this was a lot, you know? And it's not like my parents beat me all the time. Like there was moments, and those moments were traumatic for me. You know, there's, you know, things were said to me that you should never say to a 6 or 7-year-old, you know, because that stuff stays with you for life. But yeah, just like those little traumas, and just the way my parents kind of raised me in a way. It's so weird because it's like I'm in this like this tug of rope of like, yes, they raised me right, you know, but like also at the same time I'm like mentally ill. You know, like, because I've always been the good kid. I've always been very lawful. I've always been put on the pedestal of being like a good girl. Why? Because my parents raised me very strictly. But sometimes it could be a little too strict. And it came to the point where I was constantly being silenced. Every argument that we ever have or any fight, my parents just cut the conversation, which is, I think that's why I always have problems with confrontation. Because as soon as someone just yells at me or barges at me, I'm immediately like, I just go quiet and I cry.
Yeah, you shut down because you were never trained how to do it properly or to deal with the situations properly.
Yeah, because my parents were the type of people where they're like, I'm right, you're wrong. I'm older, you're young. Therefore, I'm smarter than you, and I'm right.
I think most parents are like that, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it's just unfortunately the way that we were all raised back in the day, and it's probably still going on now.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. Just, I guess, like my upbringing is.
Yeah. I think you just discovered what the moment was.
Yeah. My whole entire upbringing.
You just talked it out.
Yeah.
It dates back to early childhood trauma, like with you being abused and with you being raised in a certain way that's not healthy.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was about to say, the really funny part about it is that like I didn't know it was a trauma until I ever talked about it with other people. And they're like, their parents are not supposed to do that. But in my culture, because I'm Spanish, hitting kids, it's a normal thing. Yeah. It's normal.
Yeah. It's also like just a 90s thing. And actually anything below the 2000s, basically. Before people were like, yeah, we should not beat our kids.
Yeah. Well, now with the internet.
Well, with that, yeah. And then like, you know, Kids Help Phone and these resources came out and were like, and scientists were like, you know, we should not do this because it doesn't help.
Yeah, we realize it really traumatizes our kids.
Yeah, because they used to do it in schools.
Yes, with the ruler.
They used to fucking hit kids with rulers and spank them and shit in school. Like,
my dad did that.
Yeah, I remember my granddad was telling me like he used to go to school where like he went to like a Catholic school and the nurses there would like whip them with. He'd have to put his hands on the desk like this.
Yes.
If he spoke out of line or if he did anything wrong in class, and she'd come over with a ruler and slap his fingers with the ruler.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That was our education system.
Wow. My dad did that to me when I wanted help with math because I'm terrible at math. I hate math. It's terrible.
At least I am too, so I understand.
And if I would get a question wrong, because I think my dad had literally no patience, because I can understand. Because when I was teaching my sister math, I would be so impatient. I would end up doing the homework for her because it's so easy. But to a little girl, they don't know. Yeah. So I would end up doing the homework. But I remember, when I went up to my dad for help, he would just have no patience, and it came to the point where every time I got an answer wrong, if I got an answer wrong, he would slap me in the hand with his belt. Wow. Like really hard.
Yeah, those are traumas.
Yeah, that's the trauma.
Those are some traumas. That's where the anxiety comes from, Leena.
Exactly.
100%. Like, I'm not a doctor, obviously, but
you
don't have to be a doctor to put out
I mean, I know. Put 2 and 2 together. Come on now.
Yeah. 2 plus 2 equals fish here, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So those are the moments that made you develop these, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I mean, it spells itself out, honestly. Like, these are the moments where your brain starts going, shit, this is happening to me. We need to come up with some kind of coping mechanism. Yes. You know, and then that's how you got anxiety, probably. Yeah. Right? Like that generalized anxiety disorder that you got diagnosed with later on in high school. Yes. Right? And so it all dates back to that, basically. Yeah. Right?
Pretty much.
Crazy. So moving forward, you get diagnosed.
Yes.
You go to one therapy session. You can't do it. Yeah. You finish high school. Yes. You lose your best friend.
Yes. Yes.
Go from there.
Yeah, so my ex-best friend, we pretty much kind of like, I want to say grow apart. in a way. I don't know. Let's just say pretty much after high school, I went ghost on everybody.
Yeah, talk about your isolation period, because I know about it, but the listeners might not. So
Yeah, so when I graduated, barely graduated really, because when I got diagnosed, I did not care much about school at that point.
yeah,
I was kind of left with not knowing what to do with my life, you know? Especially because I took all university classes. My marks were not the best because when I got diagnosed, that was like in the middle of like first semester. So pretty much the rest of the school year was a struggle.
right.
It was a struggle. Yeah, I didn't know quite what I wanted to do. And also I was still kind of like taking in my mental health issue and being like, this is what I have. Oh my God, I have to live with this, you know?
Yeah.
And I was scared and I distanced myself from like other friends because I didn't know what was going on with me. And I just needed some space. Like I really needed some space. And with my ex-best friend, she was just out doing her own thing, you know? And at that point I was just like, I can't, like, we're two different people. Like I have to move on or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, by the time I graduated, I pretty much was in complete isolation for like 4 or 5 years.
And so that kind of goes into my next question. What are some of the hardest moments for you in terms of like, you know, the negatives caused by your mental disorder? Like, I'm guessing this is probably one of the hardest moments, is this isolation period in your life, right?
Yes, that was very hard.
So talk a little bit about some of the hardest moments and the negatives that have come out of
I guess like the hardest moments, because within my 4 years of isolation, I was surprisingly got into a relationship. Yeah, with my first boyfriend, and like the year into the isolation, finding out that he cheated on me. So that was really hard.
Yikes.
That was hard.
Yeah,
and
that's not going to help you at all.
No. And on top of that, I didn't have any friends to confide to.
Right. So that happened. You were already anxious to begin with. And then because you've isolated yourself, there's no one to reach out to for comfort.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I don't know, my parents definitely weren't like, you know, you hear it all the time. You hear like boys will be boys, you know, like you're too young.
All the bullshit excuses.
Yeah, exactly. And but you don't want to hear that
No,
at all.
Of course not.
No. And it was really hard. It was super hard. It's wild looking back how I even got through it in the first place, because those 2 years of isolation after the breakup were hard. Like,
I'm guessing that's where the depression came in.
Yeah, that's when the depression really came in. Talk
about that.
So yeah, that's when the depression really creeped in. It wasn't more so of like the chemical feeling. At that point, I just felt it all over my body. Like I had such a like I couldn't even get out of bed. I couldn't even eat, like whatsoever. You know, like I felt nauseous constantly. You know, and that's when more panic attacks started occurring as well. You know, because not only was it complete isolation, I have no one to talk to, and still in some way just trying to like battle what the hell was going on with my mind and with my brain and doing more research and stuff like that. So I was feeling a lot of mixed feelings, a lot of confusion, a lot of doubt, and just like, and also that was also at a time when I just wasn't the most confident person.
Yeah.
Like I felt like a piece of trash after the breakup.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, when someone cheats on you,
yeah,
makes you feel like a shit person, you know, makes you feel like you know, you're a piece of trash.
Yeah, you start questioning everything.
You start questioning everything. You start questioning your worth.
Yeah, which is a hard thing to do.
Which is hard.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's when the depression like really creeped in, and at that point it stopped feeling sad. Like I stopped feeling sad. It came to the point where I felt almost numb.
Yeah.
Like I flatlined as like a human.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's when I kind of noticed that this was definitely a different feeling from my anxiety or my panic attacks.
Right.
Now it's kind of like, oof, this is a doozy. This is like literally bringing me down. Like I can't even get out of bed or like even shower. Oh my God, you know.
Is that as dark as it ever got?
That is as dark as it's ever gotten. There's never.
So you never. I'm not going to shy away from the subject
Yes.
of suicide on this channel.
Yes.
Or this channel.
This YouTube channel.
This podcast.
Uh-huh.
So for listeners that are listening to this podcast, if you're uncomfortable with
Yes.
talking about it, I understand. But
Yes.
just know this is a warning.
Yes.
I'm not going to hold back because this is what I want this podcast to be as open and as gratifying as possible.
Of course.
And suicide needs to be talked about,
It needs to be talked about.
plain and simple.
Yep.
We need to stop treating it like a stigma or stop treating it like it's taboo. Like, it happens.
It happens.
Deal with it.
Yes.
Like, people need help. People need to be talking about it.
Yes.
They can't be scared to talk about it.
Yes.
So, that aside, was there ever a moment where you thought maybe that's a way out?
No, there was never. Thank God.
Yes. No.
that-
I'm very happy that you're
Yeah.
still here.
Yes, I'm very happy that it didn't came to that point. And I don't know. I mean, like, I think it's not. It's one of those moments where I'm like, I wonder what it would be like if I just disappeared. You know, those kind of like little thoughts.
So not death per se, but just like you just didn't exist.
Yeah, it's like, what if I just did? Like, I don't want to exist anymore.
You're just like invisible or something.
Yeah, like I just want to just poof, like become just like dust. You know?
Because you were just so dark and so like just unmotivated and
Yeah, I was on autopilot.
and isolated and
yeah, exactly.
And then you got to the point of numbness,
Exactly.
which is arguably worse than being sad. I'd rather feel sad than feel nothing at all.
Yeah, to feel nothing, it's hard to describe.
Yeah.
To feel everything to feeling absolutely nothing, it is indescribable.
Yeah, it's just like a void of life,
Yeah, like it's a black hole.
like an emptiness.
Yeah, it's like a black hole.
Yeah,
And
it's swallowing you whole basically.
yeah, exactly. And I think at that time I didn't think I would ever come out of it.
Right.
I was like, okay, this is my normal now. This is what it is. You
Yeah.
know? But it never came to that point whatsoever. Because even though I was in complete isolation for those 4 years, I think the biggest support was my little sister.
Tati.
Yes.
Shout out to Tati.
Shout out to Tati.
I hope you're listening to this.
Yes. She's been such a great support. It's funny because, like, at the time when I was diagnosed, she was like a little kid.
Yeah, so she wouldn't even
She wouldn't even know. She wouldn't even know. But she didn't have to know. And she's been such a great support system for me. Oh, man. I keep telling her, if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't be here. Like, I probably, like, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, if I was an only child, buddy.
So you're saying that, does that mean you would have considered suicide then?
I would have considered
if
it.
she wasn't in the picture?
Yeah, I probably would have considered it.
So you
for
were
sure.
thinking about it then?
No, well, like, yeah, I mean, like, I guess, like, but, like, thinking back, at the time, no, obviously not, because I had my sister, you know? But,
So if she wasn't in the picture, you think that you might have thought that.
yeah, I probably would have a
Because
definite...
you were at that low.
Yeah, I definitely would have had that suicidal thought, you know? Like, I never thought of killing myself, but the idea of me just disappearing
Was there.
was there.
Right.
But if my sister was not in the picture, I don't know. I think I probably would have gone even darker than that, than just being like, oh, what if I disappeared? I'm like, oh,
Right.
you know, I could just take a knife right now and just end it, you know?
Yeah.
I could just walk in the train tracks and that's
There's a
it,
lot of ways to do it.
you know? Those kind of like moments. But,
Yeah. Especially when you feel like there's no way out of it, or there's you know, in your situation, how you were like so isolated and,
yeah.
you know, there was no one there basically for you.
Yeah.
Right. Thank goodness you had your sister.
Yeah, I know.
You know, like even if she couldn't talk to you about it, because obviously she couldn't understand what's going on.
No, she was a child.
Just having her be there and you loving her as much as you do,
Yes.
that was enough.
That was enough.
Right. And so like, thank goodness you had that,
Yeah.
you know, because like you said, if you didn't, who knows where you'd be, right?
Yeah. I probably will still be stuck in that same black hole.
Jesus. Yeah. Well, let's turn this frown upside down, because I'm sure that was the darkest probably period in your life, right?
Yes, it was. Yes.
And it goes up from there,
It goes up.
right?
It goes up.
I mean, it's a constant battle, obviously, and I'm sure
We have our obstacles.
There's been years since that moment in
Yes.
your life that you've had to deal with other stuff.
Yes.
You know.
But I can say for sure that I definitely have improved for sure.
For sure.
It's,
So before my next question, or I guess it kind of ties to my next question.
yes.
My next question is, are there any positive things that you've discovered during or still finding out about your mental health as you've been living your life?
The positives.
Yeah. So you can continue like your journey basically, if that answers the question in
Yeah.
terms of positives. Like you got out of the dark period in your life.
Yes.
You went back to college.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead. You say. I'm going to tell the rest
It's
of
my
yours.
life story, Taylor. It's my life story.
Leena, go for it.
Yes. So after the breakup and the 2-year recovery of that breakup, I decided to kind of get my shit together and start working and saving up for college, because then I kind of wanted to go back to school for something. Music was definitely not the plan A. I just was like, I should go to college and get some kind of education of some sort. You know, it'll look good on a resume or something. So went for work. Started working at this condo as a concierge, and that's when I met my second boyfriend. But yeah, and that was going good so far. Like I was doing well. I was going to work. I was distracting myself. I was becoming productive. You know, I started playing more music because my first boyfriend was a musician, and when I found out he cheated on me, I ended up just tucking all of my stuff away, like all of my guitars, my pianos, because he was also a guitar player and a piano player. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, no.
Right.
And then I put everything in the closet. I didn't play music for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, but then started playing music again, started loving it again, and it's been good. And it was like a year, and I had enough saved up for college. And my boyfriend at the time was like, you should go for music. And oh man, the amount of times people have asked me if I'm going to the university or college for music. I don't know. I mean, like when I started playing music, I was 15. And when I did play music, everyone just kept being like, why aren't you doing music? Because I wanted to go to university for like science or something.
Yeah.
And I think that was only just because to appease my parents, really.
Going back to that trauma again.
Yeah, exactly. Like I just wanted something to, I don't know, for my parents to be like, my daughter has a degree in medical, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, that validation, that reassurance. But no, everyone was like, you should do music, and I was so not confident in that whatsoever. I was just like, I can't, no, I'm scared. I don't want to do it. I'm too scared.
Yeah, it's a hard decision to make.
It's very hard, yeah. And also, I didn't think I would ever do music. Usually, most people would start playing music like super young, like at 5 or 6 or whatever. But when you're starting at 15 or you're like a teenager, I don't know, man. I was like, I didn't think I would ever be a musician, let alone even play, like, let alone even write music.
Right.
You know, so like music was one of those things that just happened out of nowhere, and it just like dropped on my lap, and I was like, okay. Did the music thing. My boyfriend at the time encouraged me to go back to college for music. So applied, got accepted to Seneca, and that is when everything went uphill, super uphill.
Yeah, talk about that journey.
Oh man, it's crazy. That was like 4 years ago.
Yeah, almost.
Oh my god. Yeah, coming into it, honestly, I was not expecting to have any friends. I was just expected to just do the thing, get the grade, get the certificate, and
was
just
that because
dip.
of your position that you were in?
Yeah, because when you're like in isolation for 4 years, your social thing is like your social skills are depleted. You know?
Do you think that's where your social anxiety comes in?
I think so, yeah, for
Because
sure.
of those isolation years?
Yeah, those isolation years and like
not socializing?
Yeah, or not socializing people like around my age.
Right.
Because when I was working, I was just surrounded by
other people.
Parents, like
Right.
fathers and mothers or
Older
older people. So there was no like I thought I was like I think I don't have the social capacity to like be able to talk to these people, so I'm just gonna like do the thing, get the certificate, dip, you know.
Right.
And but that was the complete opposite. Oh boy, complete opposite. Yeah, I was now I have such an amazing group of talented, beautiful friends. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have one right in front of me right now.
Stop it.
Who I live with. It's crazy.
It's pretty crazy.
It's crazy.
It's fucking nuts, dude.
Who would have thought that, like, college would I end up, having a brother, older brother I've always wanted, who I live with. Oh my God.
We live together now. It's
Crazy.
crazy.
It's still surreal to me.
I don't know. I don't know what to say. So talk about the growth. That's super important in this.
Oh
in this
man,
podcast.
the growth. Yes.
People need to hear it.
You've seen it.
I have seen it.
You were like right there, right front and center.
I literally watched you go from
I think the
a
moment.
nobody person who was no confidence.
Yes.
You just said you didn't want any friends. You wanted to walk in, get out. To the person I'm sitting in front of right now.
Yeah.
Like totally different person.
I think the moment was when you pushed me to do open mic.
Maybe that was. I don't know.
I think that was literally the moment everything changed. For sure.
Hey, I'm not gonna take credit for that unless you're giving it to me. Then I'll take it.
Yeah, take it.
I'll take it then.
Yeah.
Basically for the listeners that are tuning in
Yes.
and listening to this story, basically, I met Leena when we started college, and I was the guy that was like, let's go out every night and get trashed and play music.
Let's get drunk, go to open mics, have a good time.
I wanted it to be like a way better college experience because my first college experience sucked dick. Like it was awful.
Yeah.
So like this is my second time going to college, and I wanted to make it awesome. So I came in guns a-blazing, and I was like, I gotta make friends with everybody in the class, and we're gonna go do everything together. And they're not gonna. They don't have a choice. They're coming with me or not.
You're gonna be my friend forever.
Forever. And then I only talked to like 5 of them.
Yes.
That's besides the point. But yeah, and then like I remember there was one day where I saw Leena at the bus stop, and I had a group of classmates that we were all going out downtown. We were getting the bus downtown, right? And I was like, Leena, like, come with us. Like, it's gonna be fun. We're playing open mic and stuff. And you're like, no, maybe next time. And
yeah,
she, like,
I was like, I got an assignment.
Totally
to do.
dismissed. And she's like, I got work to do. And it's like, okay, Leena. And then she went off, whatever. But I was like, okay, well, next time I'm gonna hold
next
you to
week,
that.
Yeah, next Wednesday.
And Leena was like, okay. And I was like, you think I'm joking? I'm not. I'm gonna.
I thought you were.
No, I wasn't. You can't tell me a rain check because I'm gonna hold up to it, man. I'm gonna come back and be like, yo,
right.
remember that time you said that thing? Yeah, well, I'm here. And
a week later.
Sure enough, a week later, we're going out again, and Leena's at the bus stop, and I'm like, hey, you told me next time.
Today's next time.
Today's next time. And then Leena got on the bus.
And I got on the bus, and I was like, all right, let's do it.
And take the story away, my dude.
Yeah, so we all went to the boat. Rest in peace, the boat. Oh, God. Rest in peace.
Don't get me started.
Oh, man.
Oh, God. Just keep going.
Okay. Yeah, so the boat, it's this venue in Kensington Market. It's no longer there anymore. But every Wednesday they would host open mics. And everyone was there. So it was me, Taylor, and the gang. And I was so nervous because you were like, you're going to perform. You're going to play open mic. And I was like, can I just watch? And you're like, no, come on, do it.
Pretty much twisted her arm to do it.
Yeah. Because you've like heard me sing and like play the acoustic.
You were good, man.
Yeah.
You are good.
I didn't think so. I was just like, no, I'm just going to watch. And you're like, no, Leena, I'm putting you on the list. And then puts me on the list for the
You didn't just come all the way down here to watch. You're playing.
Yeah. And I remember getting up on that stage and, oh, man, I was shaking. I was literally shaking. I was so nervous.
Can confirm.
Oh, my goodness. But as soon as I did it, I don't know, man. It's like it just immediately just lifted off my shoulders. And I also think, one, I'm just playing in front of my friends, So
and other musicians in the
and
open
other
mic.
musicians. And once I did my performance, everyone was like cheering and like, and I remember you're like, see, like it was great, wasn't it? And man, he was right. I felt the rush.
I created a monster.
Yeah, and since then we were going to open mics every Wednesday. Every week.
Yeah, it was a tradition at that point.
Yeah, every week.
Yeah, for basically the whole school year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every week, and it was fun and different every time. It was crazy.
It was awesome.
It was awesome. And yeah, and pretty much
talk about how you bloomed from there.
Yes, how I bloomed. Oh man.
because we're talking about the positives come out of, you know, your mental health and shit like that. So like,
Yes.
this is a big shift in your life. You know, like that first night or whatever, then like the continuous amount of shows and everything like that.
Yes.
So talk about like talk about how you shifted, like your personal and like how your mental health shifted in these next coming years.
Yeah, I think in terms of like my worth has definitely changed over time, 'cause I don't know, I think, well, now I'm still working on it, but I've never been the most confident person. You know, I don't think of myself as, you know, the shit most of the time. And especially at that time, like 2016, 2017, I thought I was a piece of trash, you know? So pretty much ever since that open mic and just the support that I was getting from my friends, the fact that I had friends now.
Yeah, that was already a big enough.
That was already
a
big enough, huge positive already, is the fact that now I have a group of people that I can talk to and that I can just be myself with, you know? Like, they're there. I went from having no one to having so many friends. It's crazy. Like, it's such a big jump. And yeah, and that was a huge positive for sure. Just kind of like, it definitely, it made me feel like, you know, I was like, you know, worth it, you know? That self-worth definitely freaking skyrocketed as soon as I started performing. And yeah, just pretty much the motivation that you give me, especially, and also my friends, to just, you know, do the music thing, just be who you are. Be like, this is a judge-free zone. Like, just, you know, I'm here to make you comfortable.
Feel the vibe, man.
Feel the vibes. It's all vibes here.
Nothing but good vibes.
Nothing but good vibes. And yeah, and it was just the fact that like a safe space was created for me.
Super important.
Super important.
Going from not having that for a long period of your life.
Yes.
Dealing with your mental health.
Yes.
And then getting to a place, like you said, where you went from having nobody to all these people in your life that want to support you and love you and motivate you.
Yeah.
And that probably alleviated some of your mental health at least, right?
It did alleviate it for sure. It did alleviate it. If only it cured it.
Well, there is no cure. We know that.
There's no cure, unfortunately. But
there are ways to like deal with it. Obviously,
there's ways to cope with, like,
and make it easier to deal with, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because in the beginning, when I got diagnosed and I tried to do it on my own, it was very hard for me.
Of course,
very, very hard for me.
It's hard for anybody to do it by themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And when I had my group of friends, in a sort of a way, I felt like less weight was on my shoulders, you know? And
it's amazing how that works.
Yeah. And like also my friends, like, they had the life experience, you know? There's a group of friends I have quite the experience.
Yeah.
And
we're all fucked up.
Yeah. And someone like me, I haven't really quite experienced much because I grew up in such a strict household, you know, the partying, you know, the craziness and just like all this stuff, stuff that I've never experienced or whatever. And I learned from those experiences. I learned from them, you know, and it kind of sucks. They're like, I learned from other people's trauma. But
that's okay though.
But in a way that it kind of helps.
Yeah.
Because it helps. I become more understanding.
Yeah, that's why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah.
That's why we're talking about it, because if people can relate to this and it helps them, that's why not, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like addiction problems and stuff like that, you know, and like understanding the concept of that, you know. I mean, like, you used to be an addict, so it's like I've never had a best friend that was an addict, you know.
Now you do.
And now I do. And it's helped me understand more into addiction, which is another mental health issue for sure.
Absolutely.
You know, and
I should have addressed more of that on the first episode, but we'll talk about it now. But
I mean, that could be your next episode, talking about
addiction and stuff.
Addiction and coping mechanisms for mental health.
Absolutely.
And I mean, growing up, I never had the accessibility of those kinds of substances and stuff.
Yeah.
So
thank goodness for that.
I thank God for that. I mean,
that would have been hell for you.
Yeah, because in a sense of the fact that, like, growing up in a strict household and being isolated, I feel like the mental illness that I had was already like poisoning me.
Right. Enough of a poison as
it was already enough of
more poison to it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it was already poisoning me as it is. Like, it was really bad. Like, here I am, this teenager with a lot of back problems and like heart palpitations and like just fatigue. Like, oh my God, that's crazy. And then on top of that too, a bunch of drugs and stuff. But like, no, but thank God that I didn't have that kind of accessibility. But my friends who have gone through these kinds of things or has battled with addiction or who knew someone close to them that had addiction, you know, and hearing these stories and hearing their experiences has also been kind of like, in a way, helpful for me, and understand even myself a little bit sometimes and being like, okay, I can understand why you did that, you know. I mean, I've had these like similar traumas. I can understand why you need to have some sort of an escape or, you know, from this cruel reality that you're kind of living in your own little bubble, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so
let's get back on track on you.
Yes,
so
on me.
Talk about, so we're at college, right? So let's just pick 3 points where you noticed a shift in you to who you are now.
Yeah.
3 big moments. Can you do it?
I guess the 3 big moments. I'm trying to think.
Like, what are 3 defining moments in the last couple of years that have made you the Leena that we all know and love now?
Oh, man. I guess, like, well, that moment was definitely the open mic. That was a big shift.
Because that was, like, the opening the door, basically.
That was opening the door. That was a big moment. And I guess, like, the second big moment, I would probably say the Christmas party was
interesting.
Was a very big moment.
Huh.
Yes.
Let's get into this.
Okay.
Elaborate. I want to know why this is a pivotal moment.
This was a pivotal moment because...
And like, are we talking about mental health, or are we talking about your development into who you are now?
Into who I am.
Or are they
now.
going like tandem, I guess?
Into who I am.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was quite a night that night. I don't want to go into too much detail on what happened.
You can't say that now.
No, I mean, I can't get too detailed.
No, yeah.
But
say what you can say, and that's it.
Yeah. But my boyfriend at the time, we got into a very big fight during that party. A very big fight. That involved a lot of yelling and a lot of feelings, you know. And fast forward, party's over, you know, I'm in the bed with him, and I think at that moment I kind of realized I think when I first started dating him, I was definitely not in the good headspace, for sure.
Yeah. 'Cause
I wasn't confident. I was constantly looking for validation. I needed reassurance. And he was that validation and the reassurance.
Yeah.
You know? He
was like your kryptonite getting out of, or not kryptonite. He was like your sunshine getting out of that state you're in.
Yeah, exactly.
You talked about earlier.
Yeah, exactly. And like, yeah, I mean, like, well, I'm just realizing this now. Yeah, he was just the validation and the reassurance for me. I think that moment, that was like in our second year into our relationship, realizing I was like, I don't need this to feel like validated, you know?
It's a big moment.
Yeah. That was a big moment. I had like this like slight confidence boost. I went from like 0 to like, it went up 10%.
You realized that the situation you put yourself in was not okay.
It was not okay. And also, I've never been in a fight like that ever.
Yeah.
It's ever.
The first big fight with a significant other.
Ever. I never go into I never yell at people like that.
Yeah, it's like the first time I ever heard you yell.
Like, I never get angry.
Yeah, but you get angry sometimes, but like I've never seen you like scream like that.
Oh no, I was screaming.
And you defended yourself, which is not something
which is something I don't do
a lot. Yeah,
because when I do try to defend myself, again reverting back to the trauma, I will get silenced for it.
Yeah.
So the fact that like
so you're going against the grain.
Yeah. So that was the moment where I went against the grain for the first time. You know.
Was it liberating?
It was very liberating. Right. Yeah, it just felt really good. I mean, like, obviously that moment wasn't the best moment.
But you gained something out of it.
I actually said how I felt.
Yeah.
And I don't do that.
That's great.
So that's why it's the second big moment. Okay. I was like, I said how I actually felt.
That's good, man.
And I didn't like...
It is kind of combating your mental health in the same way because of your social anxiety.
Exactly.
Right? So it's in tandem.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand. Because I was yelling in front of everyone.
Yeah, you went against what normally would have crippled you.
Yeah.
Right? And you said, nope, I'm a dude anyways. And
you did it. I didn't like hide away or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I was genuinely like...
It's a big moment.
I let myself get angry.
Yeah. And you stood up for something that needed to happen.
Yeah.
For yourself.
Yeah, it was a very pivotal moment. I was quite taken back by it, actually. I was just like, I can't believe I just did that.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, that was the second big moment. And
What's the third big moment?
a lot has happened in 4 years.
A lot has happened, yes.
I guess the big one was moving out.
That is a big one.
That was a very big, huge milestone.
It was massive, yeah.
Massive.
Yeah, I mean, especially because like what we talked about earlier with your trauma and stuff, being in that house, and then we won't get too far into it, but like the pandemic, I'm sure, did not help any of that.
Yes, because I don't know. I mean, like to go from like working full time 5 days a week in an office, and then on the 2 days off that I have, I'm in downtown with my friends or going to a show or watching my friends play a show or whatever, to literally being in my parents' place 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And not seeing my friends and like
being isolated with them.
Yeah, I was going back to that isolation that I was early when I was like 17 or 18.
Yeah.
You know?
Did that spike anything with your mental health?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, I guess that's probably leading up to your decision to do this.
Yeah, I mean, like in the first like 3 weeks, I was like, this is great. I'm a homebody. This is gonna be awesome. This is fine.
Yeah, for those of you listening, Leena, as much as she's complaining about the isolation,
Yes.
she actually does enjoy being home. Like she is a homebody.
Yes, I am a homebody.
We used to call her the grandma of Common Chase.
I am the grandma. But yeah, at first I was kind of like, this is gonna be great. Like thinking also the pandemic wasn't going to last for a full year.
No, obviously.
I thought it was going to be like 3 to 6 months.
I talked about it in my last episode, yeah.
Yeah. So I was just like, it's going to be great. And a month later, I was like, I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
That's when I went on my little tour and took my mom's car and went to everyone's houses, like 6 feet apart, and to go see everybody. Because I was just like, nope.
You need to get out of there.
I need to get out of there because that's when I started working from home. That's when I was like, okay, then this is getting a little too much. You know, I wake up like at 1 p.m., 2 p.m., roll over, open my laptop, start work, be in that same spot until 11:30, roll back into bed again.
Yeah.
Start over again.
Honestly.
And I feel like that also kind of impacted my mental health too. Just the being on autopilot.
Yeah.
You know? And just being cooped up and seeing the same people all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 This is making me go crazy. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, it was pretty cooped up.
So talk about what drove you to the decision to do what you did. 'Cause I'm sure people are really interested as to like what motivated you to do this, your third big moment of who you are now.
Yes.
And leaving the nest and
yeah.
and living in this house with me.
Yeah, I guess like the third, it's funny 'cause it was the moment that my basement flooded, because in those first like 4 months of quarantine, it was sad, but I wasn't just like, oh, like, you know, I'm gonna get out of here. But it was probably the moment when there was like a huge thunderstorm and it like flooded my whole entire basement and it flooded my studio. And it was in the middle of my shift. I had to like literally tell my supervisor, I have to go save all my stuff. So I like grabbed everything, and then, you know, my mom's like, this house is old. We gotta leave. We gotta move out. You know, we gotta go, you know, we gotta get out of here. That's when I realized I was like, okay, I don't know if I can do this, you know. Then we had like some like family meetings here and there, and I mentioned it, and like my mom, she's very sensitive, and like, you know, one thing led to another, and it led her leaving the house and like driving for like an hour. Like, again, she doesn't do good with confrontation. It just ended up with my mom leaving and me like crying so hard, you know, because I felt guilty, you know. I felt bad. And my mom was like, and my dad would be like, don't feel bad. You know how mom acts like this. And I'm like, it's not, that doesn't make it right though.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it right.
No. And
pretty much since that like huge family meeting, everything just kind of went downhill. Anything I ever talked about or mentioned, like my mom would just get very offensive by it. Even Tatiana's like noticing, my little sister started noticing how bad I was getting, like in terms of like my mental health.
Yep. And
her mental health was also impacted as well. So we're just all in this, cooped up in this bungalow, just like I don't know. I was going back to that same feeling of confusion. and like loss.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm lost.
Yeah.
Like I'm a little kid lost in a mall. Like I'm just like I don't know what to do next.
Did you ever experience any panic attacks again?
No.
So they didn't come back.
But my depression did get worse.
There you go.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It did get worse. Those little 1-2 day things, one of them almost lasted a week.
Right.
And I don't remember ever having that for a
I
while.
remember you telling me that, yeah.
Yeah. It lasted for a week. And at that point I was kind of worried. I was like, oh no.
I remember our conversations during
Yeah.
that because I was also going through a dramatic event. This is your episode, though I'm not going to go into it. But
Yes.
I was going through a lot of shit as well. And Leena and I were having a lot of back and forths, a lot of Zoom chats.
A lot of crying.
A lot of crying, a lot of sappy movies.
Yes.
You know, to help us get through the situation and stuff. And yeah, I can tell you guys that she was in a rough place.
I was in a very rough place.
You were in a rough place, pal. You weren't happy at home.
I wasn't.
You know, like the place you're supposed to feel at
home
peace
wasn't my home.
and feel at home was not becoming that anymore.
No.
Yeah, you're really struggling with dealing with your mom and that lifestyle situation that you're in right there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like you said, it pushed you and made you go nuts.
It pushed me to the edge.
Yeah.
That was like a
You're
moment
on
I was
the brink,
like,
man.
this is the last straw. And like also when we started looking for houses.
Oh, I mean that too. Yeah. Talk about that shit.
Yeah. So when we started looking for houses to rent, first of all, these houses were in the outskirts. Like
Yeah.
we're talking like between like Milton and like Brampton, like far. And in my head, I'm just like, this cannot be good for me at all.
Yeah, even further from your friends.
I'm going to be even farther from my friends.
Yeah.
And then, like, not only that, just, you know, thinking of my career and, like, doing shows and stuff. And, like, I'm just like, there's just no way.
Yeah.
There's just no way. Like, after
well,
show.
also, like, not to get too personal, obviously, because I don't know where you want to draw the line with this.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of financial situation
Yes.
with all this as well.
Yes. Yeah, because my mom was expecting for, like, she doesn't pay rent, like, at all. And when I mentioned it, because I was like, okay, if we're going to move out, just understand that the rent's going to be more expensive now, you know? And we're all going to be living in this house, whatever. I think it's time that we start sharing the cut, you know, because my dad is mostly the one that handles most of the rent and stuff. He pays the most. And my mom just compensates for cooking and cleaning, you know? And I told him, I was like, that's not going to pay the bills, though.
Yeah, especially if you guys want to move out of that place.
Yeah, if you want to move out into, like, we were looking at mansions, too, like 4 or 5 bedroom places. And I'm like, if you want us to move into that, you got to fork over the rent.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and then they were asking you to help out,
and they were asking me to pitch in, obviously,
Right.
because my dad wouldn't just be able to do it. He wouldn't do it on his own. He wouldn't be able to do it on his
Of
own.
course. And I think honestly that probably triggered your anxiety
Yes.
and your depression even more, knowing that was a possible outcome that you were going to have to face.
Yeah, and if I were to stick it out, I'll never be able to leave.
And that's kind of what I told you.
Yeah.
Like when we had our conversations, I remember talking to Leena and I was like, she explained everything to me and I was like, man, if you do this, like if you go and you start paying this rent, you realize you can't leave.
Yeah.
Like once you do this, like you're never getting out of there.
Yeah.
And it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
Like your mental health is going to deplete.
I'm going to be
You're
even
going to go
farther from my
absolutely
friends.
nuts. And like you're not going to have a support system there because you're not close to anybody now because
Yeah.
they want to move even farther away. So it's like
Yeah.
all of this spells bad news.
Yes.
You know? And so like I asked her, I was like, where's your head at in terms of like you leaving?
Yeah. Because I wanted to leave. Like that
Yeah.
was my plan.
Yeah.
Like next year.
Yeah, like she wanted to leave, like she wanted to move out, like she's always talked about it, but like her plan was like this year basically moving out, right?
Yeah, like a year or two or
like
whatever.
2021, 2022 we're talking about.
Yeah, because I wanted to save up some money. You know, I didn't want to have to worry about rent for like the first 6 months or something.
You wanted to have like a safety net, like a cushion.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, all those things that were adding up to, you know, being a no-go. But even then at the time I was in denial, you know. I was like, no, it's because, you know, when we had these conversations, you know, you were like, I told you so. But in the beginning I was like, no, it's fine. My mom can change. It's fine. You know, my mom can change. It's fine.
You can't tell, but I rolled my eyes there.
Yes. Yeah. Because he kept saying it. But again, I was in complete denial. And I was like, no. This is something that can be fixed. My mom can change. You know, it's fine. But the more and more we tried to talk, it just got worse and worse and worse. And that was, I guess, like the moment where it was like I needed to move out was probably the moment when I was talking to my dad about, you know, how my mom has been acting up and stuff, and like how she's been like very like easily like offended and stuff. And I remember telling him, I was like, you know, but mom can change if we have like a good talk. You know, if we talk about this and communicate, it'll be good, you know. And my dad's like, she's not gonna change.
Yeah.
She's not gonna change.
It's tough, man.
She's never gonna change.
So you made the call.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember my dad saying this, and it really stuck with me. I was like, I'm watching like an abusive relationship. Yeah. You know, like you're saying that she'll change, but she will never change at all.
No.
But yet you're giving her this many chances. Yeah. You know, but you know what's gonna happen. You know. Yeah. I was like, oh damn. Like and that was the moment I was like, okay.
Then you being in that environment too and seeing it, it's not gonna help you at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So you made the decision.
I made a decision, and it's funny because we had this conversation and we kept saying, "Oh, let's just move in together." Like, you know, as an
we've always talked about it. Well, not always, but like it's
not always. No,
it was like probably 6 months before we actually did it, or like a year before we actually did it. We talked. We're like, "Oh, how funny it would be if we just moved."
Yeah,
together.
How many of we moved together? But I think I remember this FaceTime call too. We were like talking, and you were just like, "I need to get out of here," because you were stuck in your apartment.
Yeah.
You're like, "I need to get out of here." And then I was like, well, I need to get out of here too. And then you were just like, so what are you trying to say?
So what you're saying
is we should move out, you know? And you kept saying, you're like, I'm ready. Like if you're going anywhere, I'm coming with you. Like I'm game. Yeah. And I was like, let's do this. Let's take the plunge.
Yeah, dude.
And we did.
And here we are.
In this lovely home.
Probably the best decision I made in the entire last year.
Yeah, best decision I've made, period. Ever.
In your life?
I'm going to say, yeah, in my life.
I mean, it is a big decision.
It's a big decision.
Like, that's pretty much
I can't go back to this. I can't go back.
No, you can't go back from this, no.
No.
You shouldn't go back from this.
No.
You've tasted freedom now. You can't.
Yeah, I can't.
Can't go back.
No, I'm never coming back. But, like, yeah, that was a very, like, pivotal moment. It was scary.
For mental health purposes, like, this was a big decision for us.
Huge decision.
You know, like, not only just for you and I, because we're friends. And
yes.
It would be super fucking cool to live with each other and shit like that. But, like, it was just a good thing for both of us in terms of our mental health. Because, like you said, I was trapped in my apartment and I was going through a bunch of personal shit. Like,
yeah.
I addressed it in the first episode. In case you missed it, go back and watch that.
Yes.
Or listen to it. And, yeah, I just needed a fresh start. I needed to find a home.
Yeah.
You know, like I needed to find clarity.
Yeah.
And, you know, we just addressed where you were at. You were going nuts.
I was going nuts.
You were dealing with an abusive relationship with your parents.
Yeah.
Your mom was denying all these things.
Yeah.
They were talking about moving out and you being trapped in a freaking lease with your parents in a place somewhere else that you could never escape from. Like,
yep.
And it looked dooming.
Yeah, like it was the end. Like I was coming to an end.
Like, fuck. Like,
yeah. Like this is it.
So, like, I think for both of us, like, I think I could speak for both of us in this, when I say this, like, it was a big move for both of us in terms of saving our mental health and, like, finding the clarity that we both needed.
Yes.
And the escape that we both needed.
Yeah. I think we both needed that clean slate. You know?
Absolutely.
I think we both needed a new chapter in our lives. You know?
I feel so much better that I made that decision with you, where now we're here.
I feel I'm a whole different person. Like I'm a totally different person.
She's glowed up a lot.
I'm a totally different person. Oh my God. Like
the confidence that you've gained.
Yes, because
from making this decision and being independent.
Yeah, because when I was living in my parents' place, I was constantly reminded that I wasn't capable of doing what I'm doing now, because I wasn't doing it. You know,
yeah.
And the reason why I wasn't doing it is because there's like 5 of us in this house. If I even try to attempt to do something, it's already been done, or when I do something, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
You know, because my parents are horrible. They criticize a lot on a lot of things, like most parents do.
Mm-hmm.
But man, they criticize me a lot.
Right.
Like, yeah, even when I try to like, attempt to cook something, my dad would be like, "What are you doing?" Because my dad is he's definitely a penny pincher. So if any food is to be wasted, that's, my dad would get really pissed. He'd get really angry, and every time I would try to cook something or make something, my mom is very, very, she's quite the critic. So when she tells you that you fucked up on something, she'll tell you. Like, she's very blunt. I felt like I wasn't incapable of doing those things, and I wasn't. Even though a lot of people have told me that I'm quite an independent person and that, like, I'm very mature. You
didn't believe it.
I didn't believe it. In my home, I was like a little girl, like a lost girl.
Yeah, but you were like 25.
And I was 25. Yeah, I was 25, feeling like a little girl every time I was in my parents' place.
Yeah, so this decision to do this basically allowed you to grow up and be the age you're supposed
26.
to be.
26.
Yeah,
yes.
and like find your independence.
Yeah.
And let you grow as your own person.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I've watched you within the last, because it's been 6 months already, which is,
oh man,
or almost 6 months, but like, it's been nuts, dude.
Yeah.
How much time has flown in this house. But yeah, just seeing you be your own person.
Yeah.
Without having to, your parents breathing down your neck.
Yeah.
And like just being you.
Just being me.
It's great.
Yeah. Just me vibing. Crazy.
Yeah, dude. And finding who you are as a person independently.
Yeah, exactly.
Without having to report to anybody.
Yeah. Without having to tell where I am or whatever. It doesn't matter because I am an adult.
Exactly.
And like, it's crazy because like I have my moments of like, wow, I can't believe I'm doing this. And I can't believe I'm still here. Like, I can't believe I'm still living here. Like, I'm paying rent just fine. I'm doing the thing. I'm doing the thing. I'm doing the thing, and I can't believe I'm doing it.
Yeah, man.
And I'm doing it well. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, we ain't got kicked out yet, so I mean, like, we're doing something right.
We're doing something right. I mean, rent's coming through just fine, and it's like all these things, all this doubt that I had, the self-doubt that I had, and the fact that like it came to the point where my parents almost convinced me that I wasn't capable. Yeah. That I will forever be living with them until like in my mid-30s or some shit.
You just be like codependent forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to.
But it's not.
But it's not. I don't want to anymore.
No.
I didn't want to.
No.
I felt it wasn't good for me anyways.
Of course not.
I was like,
it's not good for your self-worth, which is what you were talking about earlier in the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
And now you found your self-worth.
I found my self-worth.
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
A lot.
Definitely a lot more than before.
Medium level.
There
we go.
Medium level self-worth.
Medium sauce.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like a buffalo sauce.
Yeah, buffalo sauce. I'm not at honey garlic yet.
Honey garlic is below buffalo sauce.
In terms of
sweet.
In terms of like
or like flavor
wise, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So your goal is honey. Sorry,
it's honey garlic.
Stupid, but it's honey garlic.
It's honey garlic.
Got it. All right.
Yes. Yeah. So, and as soon as I moved out, yeah, I've changed, dude. I got like 5 tattoos in like a month.
Yeah. She's catching up to me now in tattoos, and I'm like, yo, Leena, do me a favor, slow down.
You need to chill.
I'm the tattoo guy in this house.
Yeah. No, I felt comfortable. I felt so comfortable.
Yeah, man. Like, you just seem like a free bird.
I'm out here flying. Just not even flying. I'm gliding.
You're gliding, bro.
I'm gliding. I'm not even moving my wing. I'm not even flapping my wings. I'm just like
gliding along.
Just gliding along and going with the wind.
All right. One big point I will bring up. How do you feel? Are you comfortable with talking about your sexuality?
Yeah.
Because it's a big thing that we didn't address.
That is a big thing.
In terms of who you are as a person.
Yes.
And I have the belief that this plays a big part in your anxiety as well.
Yes.
And like another trauma almost. Because it's kind of been something that you've, again, like probably never knew or addressed it.
Yeah.
Until you got older and then started to understand about these things. And then you're like, shit, is this who I am? Like, is this what I'm dealing with?
Yeah.
And now you've come out and
yes,
you've embraced it.
Yes.
Right. And like you're starting to learn more about it and stuff like that and become a part of the culture and everything like that. And, and I'm very proud of you. But yeah, that's got to take some toll on your mental health as well, having that be a big part in your life.
Well, yeah, because it's one of those things you've suppressed it for so long, Yeah. And I've definitely suppressed it for a very long time.
Right.
And
so that plays a big factor in your anxiety and your probably depression too, because you're probably questioning yourself like,
who am I?
Like, yeah, like you've done all these things, but none of them felt right.
Yeah.
And you're like, what am I doing wrong? Like,
oh, yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, my God, yeah. That was a huge thing in my past relationships with men was that I was like, I thought this was how I'm supposed to I thought this was gonna feel good. Like I thought this was gonna be, you know, something, you know. And like I kept being like, what's wrong with me? You know, I honestly thought I was asexual, that I wasn't feeling anything.
Right, yeah.
Like towards any kind of attraction. Because like throughout high school, I wasn't attracted to anybody. Never
had any like crushes or...
Never had any crushes.
Sexually attracted to anybody.
I wasn't boy crazy, wasn't girl crazy. I just was like, I just saw people as people, and that was it.
Right.
Like it wasn't like no physical attraction. And it wasn't until I was like 17 or 18. Like when I left high school and I had my first relationship.
Right.
But I think it was more so the like internalized homophobia. Yeah, it was the internalized homophobia that I was not internalized. What is it? It was like compulsive heterosexuality or compulsive
heterosexuality. I understand what you're trying
heterosexuality.
to say. It's not internalized homophobia.
No,
because I mean, your parents don't necessarily agree with that either, though.
Yeah, my mom is very like. They're like.
So you probably had a bit of that too.
I definitely did have a bit of that.
Subconsciously, you're probably thinking like, oh, this isn't right.
Yes.
Because your parents told you that it's not right.
Yes.
Right.
And like constantly, my parents were disgusted by it.
Oh, by the way, Leena's gay. If we remember this clear.
I'm very gay. Yes.
Like,
I am a lesbian.
It's really we skipped over that.
Yes.
I'm sure people clued in, but like just in case you missed it, yeah, Leena's gay.
Yes, pretty gay. But yeah, and also just every time I would bring up the fact that like when I bring up the topic of like LGBTQ or whatever, my parents would kind of be like disgusted about it, like physical disgust. And in my head, I'm just like, oh no, like my mom is gonna think I'm disgusting.
Yeah, that plays a big factor.
Yeah,
I'm sure in terms of your social anxiety for sure.
Social anxiety, my mental health.
Your mental health.
And
tremendously.
Just who I am, my identity, just who I am as a person.
Absolutely.
You know, yeah, it definitely like impacted me in the sense of just like these feelings. Like you're not supposed to feel these feelings,
right?
You know, this is just a phase. You'll get over it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But as the years gone by, it wasn't a phase at all, and at first, like in the beginning, I came out as bisexual like not too long ago.
Yep.
But I think I said that because I don't know. I mean, it was more so like a safety net because
you're playing it safe.
At the same time, I'm still trying to figure out who I am.
Yeah. Like
what I'm into or what I like.
Yeah.
You know, so even at the time when I came out, or I thought I was, I still was kind of like, no, well, maybe I'm not, or maybe I am. I don't know.
Yeah, you're still in self-discovery mode.
I'm still like in self-discovery mode.
And like the fact that you'd been with guys previous probably made you think that you were bi.
Yeah.
But you had feelings for women.
Yeah, and like and also I just never really experienced. Haven't really been in a lot of relationships.
You've been in what, 3?
I've only been in 3.
Yeah.
You know, and 2 of them were long term, so I haven't really quite spread my wings and kind of like experiment and figure out who I am. You know, but in this time of this quarantine and this pandemic, when you're just pretty much on your own, you start to realize some things about yourself.
A lot of self-reflection.
A lot of like sitting in your room and like literally having a conversation with yourself.
Yeah. And some of the deep talks that we've had living in this house together.
Yeah, exactly. And like realizing and coming to the conclusion that I'm like, oh, this is who I am, and it's not going to change. Like, this is who I am, and I have to accept it.
So am I getting a podcast exclusive? Is Leena going to say that she's lesbian on this podcast?
Yes, I am a lesbian.
Boom. There we go. You heard it
It's
here first,
official.
folks. It's official. It's on the podcast.
There it is.
I got exclusive rights.
Boom. Yes, I am a lesbian.
Leena, I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
I love you, man.
I love you too. Yeah, just kind of having that realization of like, okay, I'm a lesbian and this is what it is.
How do you feel now?
I feel good.
You feel good?
I feel very good.
You embraced it?
I've embraced it.
You're feeling strong and confident now with that decision and kind of found a better identity?
Yeah. Like, I feel like the
true Leena?
Yeah, exactly. Because for so long it's been quite a journey, and just like, it's still a journey for me. But now I'm looking back and I'm like, okay, this makes perfect sense now.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I started developing, attraction to like women, I always thought that's how every girl felt.
Right, because you don't know any better, obviously.
But that wasn't the case. And then that was a moment of like, okay, well then, this is new. This is interesting. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Treading new waters.
Yes, treading new waters, but like also at the same time being like, maybe this is just a phase. And also the pressure of my parents and being like,
absolutely.
Will they, accept me?
And to a lesser extent, society too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like, yes, we've made leaps and bounds to where we used to be, but it's still not fully accepted everywhere yet.
No.
Right? Like there's still places in the world that don't agree with it.
Yeah, exactly. And like also just like the suppression that I had to do.
Oh yeah.
And
probably took a huge toll on you, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like the suppression.
Like tying back to your mental health, like having to deal with that kind of heavy load of information, like knowing that this is who you are.
Yeah.
And you're not doing it because you're scared or you're afraid of rejection or you're afraid of what'll happen if you come to terms with it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was very afraid. I still am afraid.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Of what is to come. But I feel like now pretty much, ever since moving out and, and discovering who I am as a person and being lesbian, I'm like, I think I'm slowly coming into terms of like, you know what? If all goes to shit, that's okay.
Yeah, that's a huge step, man.
It's a big step.
That you can say that in full confidence and be like, yep, I did it.
Yeah.
And if it goes to tits up, then whatever, dude. I did what I needed to do.
I did what I needed to do.
And I don't think it will. I think you're going to be fine. And like you said earlier in the podcast, like you have the support system now to back you up.
Yeah.
Like you have me, you have countless other friends.
Yeah.
That are going to back you 100%.
Yeah.
Right? And stand by you and push you forward into the world and want nothing but the best for you,
It's great.
We'll
I feel all
pick
the
you up
love.
when you fall or whatever, like you'll be great, man. You'll be great.
Thank you so much.
We love you. All right. Let's move on to the next question because that was a huge tangent.
That was a very huge tangent.
It was good, though. It was a good conversation.
It was.
It's a good conversation. I'm glad we had it.
Good.
So, next question. Have you found any constructive ways or solutions in dealing with your mental health illnesses?
Constructive ways. Well,
over the years, we've talked negatives, we've talked positives.
Yes.
Now we're here.
Yes.
You're 26.
Yep.
Can you look back? Or it could be recent years, could be whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that stands out to you in your individual life of dealing with your own problems that was a constructive way of coping with it or dealing with it or some sort of solution to help you manage them?
I think the one thing I did often was taking myself out on dates.
Wow.
That was a big thing. I've told you, I would go to the movies alone. Go to the movie theaters alone.
And what did that help you with?
It kind of helped me with more of enjoying my own company.
So is that depression or anxiety you were trying to battle?
It was more so depression because
being okay with being alone.
Okay with being alone.
Got it.
Okay with accepting this shell of a being that I'm going to be in for the next 70, 80 years.
Right, because a lot of people can't do that.
Yeah, no, not a lot of people can't enjoy themselves. Or
I know, I definitely couldn't do that. I told you, when Leena told me that she took herself out on dates and stuff to restaurants and movie theaters, it's like she'd just go to a movie theater by herself and watch a movie.
Yeah.
There's no hell way I can do that.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do? Sit there with a bag of popcorn myself and watch a movie? Like, hey Taylor, see that part? Yeah, Taylor, that part was great.
Yeah, no, I took myself out on a lot of dates. Went to the movies. I even went to restaurants alone. And
good for you, man.
And it's funny because I have gotten looks from people, looks of oh, I feel bad for this girl. She's by herself at the table.
Yeah, they're always gonna think that, eh?
And I've had one person being like, "Do you want to join us in our group of people?" And I was like,
"That's sweet."
And I was like, "It's sweet of them." But I was just like, "No, it's okay," and just enjoy a dinner to myself.
Yeah,
really.
I'm here on my own accord.
Yes, I'm here on my own accord, and I feel like that has been really helpful because those are also moments of self-reflection.
Absolutely, yeah, totally.
Yeah, when I'm by myself with my dinner. I tend to reflect my thoughts and kind of just look back what I did today or what I did a month ago or still trying to figure out this mental health issue that I had because I wasn't seeing a therapist at all.
Right.
I didn't have anyone to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, well, you know what? I mean, if I'm gonna be alone in this, I'd rather at least probably enjoy the company. So that's when I started like going out and by myself and going to downtown by myself and
Cool.
shopping and stuff like that.
Finding peace within yourself.
Yeah, finding peace within myself, because I definitely wasn't finding peace anything outside of that.
Right.
Well, there was no
right,
peace. There was nothing. There was no safe space for me.
Right.
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 So it's kind of finding the safe space within myself.
Sure.
You know,
I mean, you
by
have to start with number one first.
yeah, it's all about the self-love, really.
Yeah.
You know.
Because if you can't take care of yourself, then how are you going to take care of others?
Yeah, exactly.
Or
Yeah.
like, how are you going to let others in if you can't face yourself? That makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah. You mean like you got to accept the reflection in the mirror when you look at yourself.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like Michael Jackson said, starting with the man in the mirror.
Nice reference.
There you go. That's what he's talking about. It all starts with
Very
you.
true. It all starts with you.
So
That's what they say anyways.
yeah. So
So in terms of depression, that's what you've been doing for that.
yeah.
So what about your general anxiety disorder? Is there any constructive ways or any kind of coping mechanism or any sort of methods you have in order to deal with that on a daily basis?
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, it's an ongoing battle.
It's an ongoing battle.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out.
That's why we're having this conversation.
Yeah. I feel like with my depression, it's definitely been more controlled, but in terms of my anxiety, I'm still kind of like, I'm still trying to figure it out,
Yeah.
you know?
Is it like Minesweeper?
Yeah.
You know that game where it's all the
Yeah.
squares
and you
and you gotta
find the
click and
squares
you're like,
and then,
is this one good?
yeah.
Is this one good?
Yeah.
Is this one good?
Yeah.
You know?
One little click and everything just goes to shit.
Yeah.
And,
I
yeah.
can relate to that.
Yeah. I think like for my anxiety, I'm still trying to work on it. Especially now it's a lot more harder. Now with the fact that I can't even see my friends.
Yeah. Because you were talking about before the podcast how going from the isolation period and having nobody
Yes.
to now, you know, moving forward in the years and then finding the support system you have.
Yeah.
But now it seems like with this pandemic, it's going back to the isolation.
That
period
isolation again. Yeah.
You know, and like at least we have each other. Thank God we live in this house together.
Yes.
So that's that's a huge benefit
Big benefit.
for both of us. Or else we'd go insane.
Yes.
But you need more people than just one. Obviously, I understand that. And I'm
Yes.
sure you understand that too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely needed that, like seeing different kinds of people and
yeah,
like
of course.
having different conversations and
Yeah, of course.
and also just bouncing back experiences, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And I miss that a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that's what helped you out of it in the first place.
Exactly. And now that I don't have that, now it's kind of like, oh shoot, you know, and I got to like really work hard on this. But
Yeah.
but I hope for, especially for this year, I did tell myself for this year I wanted to, you know, work more on my anxiety, especially my social anxiety, because
That's an important one to deal with.
yeah, because in the beginning of, well, I guess pre-COVID, when I started drinking,
Ayo.
I thank God I caught it early, but I started realizing that I definitely was not using it for the right reasons.
Yeah, we discussed this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my bad coping for sure. But I kind of was like, that's fine. I don't do it all the time. But when I do it, I do it hard.
Yeah.
You know, I to like
Hey,
I
but the
binge
first
drink.
step into realizing is addressing it.
Exactly.
And you know,
Yeah.
right? You addressed it.
Yeah.
That's a huge step
Yeah.
to realizing that's what you're using it for, and that's not okay. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not okay to do it.
yes.
Like it's fine.
yeah.
Like I've done it. Many people listening on the podcast
that's
today.
why they
have
call it
probably done
liquid courage.
Well, exactly,
You
right?
know?
Especially if you're dealing with something like on a grand scale like that, like the social anxiety. Like I used to get it like years ago. I mean, obviously, like for those of you that know me now, like I'm a pretty outgoing person now, so
Mhm.
it doesn't really affect me that much now. But yeah, back in the day, of course I would. That's what you use it for, right? That's what everyone talks about. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, if you're
Have a
feeling
couple
shy,
shots in you,
have a
and
couple
you're,
shots or
you
a
know,
couple
you'll be
beers, or
fine.
whatever.
Loosen
and
up a little
you
bit.
loosen up, exactly. Like that's
Yeah.
that whole connotation with it, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, never
It's-
feel bad or beat yourself up over going. You have to go through it to experience it, right?
Exactly. We gotta have the lows to accept the highs, really.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
And yeah, in the beginning of quarantine, I kind of had this moment of like, oh, okay, I definitely realize I'm using alcohol as a coping mechanism for my social anxiety. Because every time I would go to some party or get together with friends, I always have a drink. But like for me, it's never just a drink. It's like
Yeah,
if alcohol is going on my tongue, I want to be blacked out, or I want to be like drunk or something.
yeah, you're gonna have a few.
I'm gonna have more than just one.
Yeah,
You know, and I over time I realized I was kind of like using that as sort of like, if I had a couple shots, I'll probably be more likable. Because I'm a very quiet person.
That goes back to the self-worth, Leena.
Exactly. I was just
Not feeling like you as sober Leena is enough.
Yeah, exactly. And like I'm a very introverted person. I'm very like self-reserved. Until I have a couple drinks in me, and I'm like, woo, like suddenly I'm like the life of the party or whatever.
Extroverted Leena.
Yeah, exactly. But when I realized that I was using alcohol as a bad coping mechanism, I was like, I gotta learn how to actually kind of be extroverted without all of that, So I decided to just completely go cold turkey and not drink. And I didn't drink pretty much for the first year of quarantine. From like,
she did great.
Yeah. I was like 10 months sobriety. I was like, I'm not drinking until, I don't know, till next year or whatever. And throughout my sobriety, I started to kind of like realize how bad my social anxiety was getting, and realizing I'm like, you know what, Leena, we gotta find a different method. Like, we this drinking thing, like obviously, being a musician and like going to these shows, alcohol is normal. It's a normalcy, like you get free drink tickets every time you play a show.
Yeah.
And it's just there. It's easily accessible.
Absolutely, yeah.
And in a sort of way, this lockdown kind of helped in terms of like having like alcohol or whatever.
Me too.
Yeah.
I mean, now it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you inspired me to not drink.
Yeah.
For the months that I didn't drink.
Yes.
And I've been sober for since we drank together, basically. And
shit.
On New Year's Eve, I haven't touched anything since then.
Yeah. But
I had a couple of Coronas.
True.
But that whatever. It's a couple of Coronas.
But yeah, no, I mean like going sober for those 10 months and just kind of like I want to try my best to kind of initiate like conversations with people and like initiate just saying hi and have like send a message.
You should.
It's still hard for me. Like it's actually
you never do.
I never do. And like
I say that with love. No,
yes, I know. And like I never do, and like I'm really trying, and it's so hard. It's so hard.
It's challenging everything that you are uncomfortable with doing.
Yeah, it's a pretty big one.
Many years, right?
It's a pretty big one.
But that's that answers the question. It's a constructive way that you're trying to combat it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's huge. So anyone listening, don't be scared to challenge yourself.
Yeah.
You might be surprised at the outcome.
Yeah.
Like if you just say hello, most people are gonna be like, hi.
Hey, what's up?
What's up?
Yeah. But my brain is still doing the thing where it's like, why are you talking to them? They don't want to listen to you.
They don't want to do anything to you. They're not going to answer back, or they don't want to talk to you, or
every
I'm not
time,
worth it, blah, blah, yeah.
That's why it's so challenging for me, because even before I could even press send, even before I could even make the message, my brain is like
firing on all the cylinders, going like, don't do it.
They're like, don't do it. You're annoying them. They got other better shit to do than to have a conversation with you. Like all of us, it's just instant like burden. I instantly feel burden before I can even press send.
Yeah.
And that's why I never initiate conversations, because I'm just like, what if they just don't like me, or they don't talk to me, or whatever,
Yeah.
And it's so weird, because they're my friends. They know me. So why am I thinking this way? And it's my mental health. It's my mental illness.
That's what we're talking about.
Exactly. So like, I'm still trying my best. I'm still trying to initiate conversation, and I also have to understand that if they don't text back in a couple days, that doesn't mean that they hate me.
No.
It's just they're probably
it's just
busy.
Your brain saying that.
Yeah, it's just they're busy.
Obviously, it's difficult, but like.
Yeah, it's difficult, but I also have to know that like we're all adults here. We're not like teens anymore. We don't have time. Like,
try your best to think rationally.
I'm trying my best to like be
sit back, take a few breaths, be like, no, you're overreacting.
Yes.
This is just my illness saying all these things to me. I know that's not the truth.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And you just got to make it a practice, I think, honestly. You just got to keep doing that same motion.
Yeah.
It's like people are trying to quit cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to, it's not just the nicotine. You have to replace the routine.
Yes.
Because that's what people are addicted to, or they're addicted to the routine of going to take a smoke.
Yes.
Right? So a lot of people that are quitting, that I talk to at least, it's all about replacing that routine, right?
Yeah.
Like instead of going out and going outside for that 5-minute smoke break, like go chew some gum or something, or like I told my friend once, sorry, a little story, tell my friend once he's trying to quit smoking. I told you the story
The
already.
Popeye sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told him this is a joke. I didn't think it was actually going to work. I just was like, try it, like just for shits and gigs, right?
And it worked?
Dude, the guy, okay, so he told me he's going to quit. He wanted to quit smoking, right?
Okay.
But he tried the patch, he tried the gum, he tried all this shit. It's just not working for him, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's because you're just doing that and you're not actually replacing the routine. You're just trying to replace the actual cigarette itself.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to it than that, right? You've been doing this for years.
Yeah.
Like your body's just it's like muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, bro, next time you have a craving, go buy a pack of Popeye, the candy sticks.
Yeah, the candy sticks, yeah.
Because they look like cigarettes.
Yes.
Right? And you can hold them in your hand like a cigarette and fake smoke them if you really want to get that placebo to work.
Yeah.
And replace that with it. But like go outside like you normally would if you work in an office that obviously you can't smoke in.
Yes.
Or wherever. Wherever you take your smoke break, go outside, take the Popeye stick with you and pretend to smoke it. That'll replace the routine in your brain. I swear to God, Leena, the guy came back like 5-6 months later, texted me. He's like, "You're not going to believe this." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Remember that Popeye stick bullshit you told me to do?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I laughed about it, right? He's like, "It worked." And I'm like, "No, fucking, you're pulling my leg, dude." He's like, "No, man, like I actually did it, and it worked. I quit smoking."
Wow.
So point being,
I should message more of my friends and say hello.
Just make it a routine.
Make it a routine.
Exactly.
Yeah. Without the constant anxiety of thinking that they don't want to talk to me.
Well, because eventually you'll get over it.
Yeah.
If you keep doing it and making it a normal thing, your brain is going to get used to you doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not going to freak out every time you try to do it. You're not going to seize up.
Yeah,
exactly. You're going to be like, oh, I do this all the time now.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna get used to it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I am by no means a professional. So my words are not gold, but like just take it when I say it with a grain of salt. I'm just saying it works for some people, may not work for other people, but
yeah, exactly.
you could at least try it.
Yes.
Right? It's not going to kill you to try.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and I feel like I got to do that more this year for sure. Is to just initiate more.
I think that you will.
Yeah.
I think that you will.
I'm kind of doing it already. You know.
You are.
Yeah.
You definitely are.
Yeah.
You're taking strides.
I'm taking strides. It's baby steps. Baby steps. It's baby steps for me.
All right, Leena. Final question.
Okay.
Any final thoughts or feelings you want to express to the listeners? It could be a message of hope.
Mm-hmm.
It could be any advice for people dealing with similar mental illnesses as yourself.
Yes.
Just any wrap-up final thoughts for the people listening out there.
There is the light at the end of the tunnel. I know that's very cliche to say, but it is for sure.
Yeah.
Just understand that like this is temporary. The pain is temporary. It can only be healed with time. And also understand that it's a constant battle. But like I said earlier, it's a battle you don't have to be alone in, for sure. You know?
Yeah.
You got your friends. You got your therapists.
Make sure you lean on people.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Companionship is very important.
Never feel like you're alone in this, because you're definitely not.
No, you're not alone whatsoever.
Like if you identify with any of the things we talked about in Leena's episode today, boom, there you go. Like there's two of us right here.
You are not alone.
Right? And I hope that snowballs. I hope it goes from like, it starts with us, and then people listening to the podcast come out and talk about it, and then they find people like that, and then it just grows and grows and grows, and people realize that they're not alone, and like a lot of people will deal with this.
Yeah. You feel less alone, and it's definitely helpful. Companionship is very, very important.
Absolutely.
You know, it's human nature. We need to lean on each other. You know, it makes us stronger.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That was great. So I'm going to do this for all my guests at the end of every podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So anything coming up in your life that people should know about?
Anything coming up in my life?
Any plugs?
Any plugs? Well, I got new music coming up very, very soon. In fact, I just recently released a song.
Shit.
Last month. It's called This Time.
All right.
And it's under my alt rock project called MBG.
MBG.
So you should definitely check it out on all the streaming platforms.
That is MBG.
MBG. And you can follow me on all the social medias
That was my next thing. Be like,
yeah.
yo, where can people find you?
Yes.
Tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr.
Wow.
Yeah, just look up
MySpace.
the MySpace. Yeah, it's MBG is Leena. So that is MBG
One more time,
is Leena.
that is at MBG is Leena.
All lowercase, all together. That's for Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok.
Oh boy.
So yeah, just feel free to send me a DM, say hello. Let's talk. Let's be friends.
Reach out, man. Reach out.
Yeah, man.
Make sure to give her a follow. Make sure to
give me a
support her in
follow.
what she's doing. Talk to her about her problems.
Yeah.
Did you relate to anything that she spoke about this podcast?
Yeah. My DMs are open. Feel free to slide in them.
Surfboard. All right, Leena. Thank you so much. So
Thank
much
you
for being on my podcast and my first guest.
Woo.
Woo, 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 woo,
Woo.
I love you.
I love you too.
I will never stop loving you. I'm gonna never stop loving you. And yeah, just thank you for sharing your story today.
Yeah.
I hope people can relate. I hope people can take something out of it. Learn from your experiences, from any of your advice that you gave.
Yeah.
Build a community, man.
Yeah. Heal the world.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
All right, any last thing you want to say?
No, I think I'm pretty good.
All right, well, that has been A Mental Break with your host, me, Taylor Simpson, and my guest, Leena Rodriguez.
Yay!
Thanks, guys. Stay tuned for the next episode to come out later.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Bye.